Hi, this is Mark from AltCoin Buzz. Good to be back. Had to take care of some personal business, but now I'm back in the saddle and ready to take a look at the charts with you. Today we're going to take a look at Bitcoin because there's so much to talk about. We kind of have to catch up and regroup since I've been gone away for so long. But throughout the week, at least 2 or 3 times this week, I'll try and hit the charts with some Litecoin, XRP, Ethereum, and some of the altcoins that you might want to look at. So leave those comments below in the comments section. But let's get started right now on Bitcoin. All right, let's take a look at Bitcoin on the USD Coinbase chart, the one-day chart, and this is the thing that people are getting excited about. I'll take off the VPVR real quick here because it makes it a little messy. Here's what people are getting excited about. We've got this higher high that we made last week. We've also got a higher low that we made a few weeks ago. Of course, those are the things that we're looking at in a reversal, right? We want to see higher highs. We want to see higher lows. This is just a tick up, just a peak out of the higher high or the previous high, but still a higher high, right? And that's what people get excited about because this is now the turnaround in the market and we're going to the moon. And what I would say is be careful because this is also an ascending triangle. If we extended out this bottom line further, we would see that we're in an ascending triangle. Now, the ascending triangle in classical technical analysis would still be a continuation pattern of the previous trend, which we know was a bear trend. So while this is encouraging, it's not the end all be all. Where we would look for that reversal is if we can break above and settle in and close above this previous high. That's where we're going to start getting encouraged that we're in a turnaround. And why is that? Let's look at the VPR now. Let's bring that up in here. And you can see this is a high volume node for us right here. We're at a point of control of around $37.90, call it $3,800. That's our point of control. We had a lot of trading action back here in that area. We have another high node module right in here around the $3,900 price point, and that's going to become resistance for us once again before getting back up to retest this high. And that high volume node area that we had before on the previous high was right in the $4,000 range. As we look at that, this high volume node of the $3,900 is also the 0.382 on the Fibonacci. Now, if you've been watching me for a while, you'll know that I don't like that 0.382 on the Fibonacci because as we try and break through a trend, as we try and break through that next price level, that 382 has been our rejection area for us time over time over time over time. So I don't like that area for us in here. We also tested that area and we were rejected from it after making this new higher high. We've tested the supply area as well down here. So we've got this as our trading range that we're looking at this point in time. That $3,650 up into the $3,900 is basically our trading range that we're looking to see what happens to give us a bigger picture or a long-term picture. The momentum indicators, which are lagging, but the momentum indicators on the chart right now on the daily are showing us that they are basically neutral. They're waiting for the market to tell them which direction to go. That's evident also by this consolidation over the last week. That's what's going to happen to those indicators because they are lagging. So prior to that, the momentum obviously was very strong because we've got this upward move, but we want to get into the macro to give us a better picture of how might this translate or how much pressure is coming behind the daily market from the week and from the month. Those higher time frames give us a little bit more confidence. This is an indicator of where we may move on those higher time frames, but right now the reality is we do have an ascending triangle forming. That ascending triangle, if we were to extend out this higher low trend line that we've got going on right now, and if we were going to extend out this horizontal resistance area, now you can say, Mark, we broke this higher high. Yes, we did. We did, but we closed below it also quite significantly after we broke it. So let's just continue out. Let's just say this was a little head fake. Continue out this horizontal resistance line, and we've got an ascending triangle. That would be a continuation pattern of the prior trend in classical technical analysis. Now, the prior trend was a bear trend. We know that. So the theoretical would be that while we may try and test this resistance area again, we would get potentially rejected and break through this lower horizontal resistance area and retest potentially this next high-level node of $3,400. Now, the question has come up, look, if price and volume are the purest forms of an indicator, right? Those are real-time indicators. Price and volume are real-time. Everything else is lagging. If that's what we're going to be looking at and we're getting this increased volume on these up moves, is that an indication? Is that something that's telling that we're moving out of this bear market into a bull market? And not on its own necessarily would that be the case. What volume is telling us is how strong the commitment is to the move that the market is making. And right now, the commitment to the upside is relatively weak. We've seen a couple times where we've risen above the moving average of volume and we've been able to take an upward move, but then we get this slap back down when we get to that resistance. And so my overall bias is still bearish because I believe that we're going to be getting into a situation where we're going to end up breaking through what looks like an ascending triangle. Because these moves have not been sustained on the volume, this is telling us how strong or committed the investors are to continuing that move. And we're not seeing that commitment from the buyers to break us through that upward resistance. So if we pull up the Ichimoku cloud and we take a look at this chart, there are some very nice positives that we have going on here. We did get a crossover on the 21 and the 50 moving average. We've got some settlement. We've got some support on that 50-day moving average. That 21-day moving average is going to become resistance for us. Okay, we are in the cloud. The cloud is thick. That provides, think of it as a sludge. We've got to get through a lot of sludge before we can say we're back into the bull market. Essentially, we're going to have to come up and get back over this $4,800 range, $4,850, to be able to say, look, this market now is in a reversal, and let's start looking for the moon. So now the other positive on the Ichimoku cloud that we can see is we finally got a green crossover. We have the development of a green cloud starting to form. As long as we don't take another dump back down to try and find support back in here at the $3,500, $3,600 range, this cloud should continue to form into a nice green cloud. The problem with that, again, is that we were talking about this ascending triangle, right? Once we can break out of that ascending triangle and get a nice green cloud forming in the future, showing that that could be support for us, I can't be bullish. Okay, let's back up a little bit and get on the USD 3-day chart. So here we are on the Bitcoin USD 3-day chart. This is the Coinbase chart, and we are above the 21-period EMA for the first time in a while on the 3-day chart. If we zoom back, we can take a look at it. You can see that 21-period moving average on the 3-day chart has been a pretty strong resistance area for the majority of this trend. We have closed above it a few times during the year last year, but then you can see this long sustained period of being below it. That continuous pressure forced us down into this waterfall zone that now we've ended up in here. So now for the first time in a long time, we've come and closed above that 21 period. How strong this movement is going to be determined by whether or not we can maintain support there. You can see that we've not come back and maintained support on that 21-day moving average during this whole trend. We've been able to break and close above it, but we have not been able to use it as support. So obviously that's something that we want to keep a very close eye on, right? This is a very strong trend line for Bitcoin. A close below that 21 period right now, right around 37.25, that would indicate a strong potential that we're going to break through this ascending triangle to the downside. If we cannot maintain support of the 21, it will become resistance for us. That resistance will force us through the bottom of that descending support line that we have going on right now. And the other thing that we're looking at on the 3-day that could be encouraging, but we have to see how it plays through, is we've got what looks to be like a cup and handle forming. Now that cup and handle looks something like this. You got a rounded bottom. You've tested the resistance area once and been rejected. You come back down and find support at your previous area of support right in this area, which also coincides with that 21 period moving average. And then you would come back up and break through the prior resistance areas. That is how a traditional cup and handle in theory would perform. Now, what will happen is if we break below this 21 period moving average, you already know that that kind of pressure we cannot sustain. So that cup and handle then becomes invalidated. So that 37.25 becomes very important for us to watch. Now we're going to zoom back out one more time and take a look and see what's happening. Okay, so let's take a look at the Bitcoin USD 1 week chart. This is on the Bitstamp exchange because it has more history to it. And you may be saying, why are you going backwards and looking at these different time frames? Aren't they all going to tell you the same thing? And no, they aren't going to tell you the same thing. They will not tell you the same thing. If you look at the 3-day 21 period exponential moving average, that pink line that we looked at on the 3-day, we are trending above that, right? We have the same line here, a 21 period, 21 week moving average, and we have not been able to break through that in this whole bear market. Now, we are about to retest that area again. You can see it here. We tested it once and we rejected a couple weeks back. We came close. We didn't even test it. We didn't hit that 21 period moving average, so it wasn't really a rejection, but we haven't been able to break through that yet. And that's where we want to break through because that's that $4,000 level that we've been looking at is very strong resistance. It's a high volume node area for us on the volume by price index. That's an area where a lot of action has happened. So that's going to be very strong resistance. And on the daily chart, you saw that we did break that, right? We broke that high. We broke that area, but we were not able to maintain above it. And that shows us that we need to be able to get enough momentum to do that. If we look at the weekly chart, it gives us some perspective to that because we have declining volume. We are still below average on the weekly chart on volume. The only time that we broke above it was right here, which is where we got rejected from that 21-week moving average. While the 3-day and the 1-day are showing some encouragement, we really need to see that translate to this 1-week chart for us to become bullish on this market or say that we might have a reversal coming. At this point in time, we are just in a continuation of this bear trend, and it's more reflective on the 1-week chart than it is on the previous charts that we just looked at. So that's why we're backing up to just give us some good perspective, a little bit more macro, a little bit more long-term. So if we do the same thing and we back up and go to the monthly, you can see how the volume trend has been down. We came back up on volume, but that volume was largely negative if we look at the 1-month chart. It's not unreasonable to think that we're going to retest that 3350 area that we see in this yellow line right here. We've already done it 3 times basically over the last 3 months, right? We broke through it here, but still a touch there, a touch here, and a touch here. It's not unreasonable to think that before the end of this month that we would get another touch on that $3,300 area, that 3350. This is also going to end up being a test of support on the 50 EMA, the exponential moving average on the 1-month chart. So if we look at it from the macro, at some point in time this month, we could easily see another test of the 3350. If, again, on the weekly, we can't break through the 21-period exponential moving average. Okay, so here's a little old man crypto cheat sheet for you. It's not unreasonable to think that we'll test that 3350 area for a 3rd time this month. That's based upon the monthly. This would also be a test on support of the 50 EMA on the monthly, with 4,000 being an extremely heavy resistance area for us and showing as the top of the resistance area on an ascending triangle. I wouldn't be surprised because the 3-day chart indicates a close below the 3740 would invalidate a cup and handle pattern and would indicate a break of the more ascending triangle to the downside, that's more probable. That's a key area for us right in there, that 3740 and 4,000. That little bit is where we're going to be playing in right now and to see which direction Bitcoin's going to be going. Because if we can break above that $4,000 price point right in that area, right, we can maintain some closes above that, we could be looking at a market reversal here. To the other side, that 3740, that would indicate now that we're looking to go potentially lower and back into that lower trading range that gets into the $3,000 and potentially even sub $3,000 level. The daily strength is picking up. There is no doubt about it, but that needs to start translating over into the higher time frames. So that'll wrap up Bitcoin for you. I hope it helped you out. Don't forget to leave those comments on those altcoins that you'd like us to look into. Also, you can reach us on Twitter. We have a Facebook page. And until next time, may all your trades be good ones.